resume.
We go right into those first and second motions.
Yeah.
but-
Okay, we're streaming and we're now recording.
Okay, thank you. We're coming back from our break of our meeting this evening, so we're resuming into our regular session. And so after listening to the information provided during the executive session, I would like to turn it over to our Vice Chair, Travis Manning. So if you could, Vice Chair.
Did I make a motion or I just announce the action? Just announce the action, right?
Yeah.
Madam Chair, the action after executive session is to approve a leave of absence for employee number 2021-12 -4 as per policy 5210.
Okay, so we have a motion. I'd like to ask for a second.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And Madam Clerk, can we just do a vote or do we need to do a roll call on the motion?
I think a vote.
A vote, okay. Would you please, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed, nay? All right, motion carries unanimously. All right, and then,
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the recommendation to remove the employee 2021-12 dash. Is it one?
four,
Is it one or four?
Four.
Four. From administrative leave.
okay, we have a motion on the table. I'd like to ask for a second.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And at this time, I'd like to ask for a vote because discussion has already been provided. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. All right, that takes care of our business for the executive session. And the next action item that we have at this time is the superintendent report. So Dr. French?
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair and trustees. There are two things. One, just to let you know that the negotiation ad hoc committee reporting was completed on Friday, April 9th. The CEA it represents more than 50% of our employees, and so we'll move forward with negotiations and wanted to share that with you. Appreciated the work. We're grateful for Brian Bauman from Hartwell, who came over to help with that, Kathy Neufeld and Keeley, who also assisted in that, and April Burton. And then you'll note, if you have noticed, maybe you have, but behind you, you'll see some work from our strategic planning committee. And this was, we worked on this on Wednesday, so that you know, we're only meeting for about an hour a month as the whole group. And so this is where we're at, is we've come to a point of writing our mission and vision. And you can see that all of the groups are starting to come together. And I just wanted to share that with you. And maybe Vice Chair Manning or Trustee Butler would like to speak to it, but they are in attendance and appreciate them being there. And I appreciate their input. So if there was anything that they wanted to add, but I did want to share that with you. And the work is continuing, and we do appreciate Dr. Sanchez for his help.
Okay, so Mr. Butler, what group were you in? And Trustee Butler?
So I am part of group one,
Mhm.
and so I think this is, really interesting that, what I saw, on this past Wednesday was the first time that we were able to gather together. We've been doing it virtually the last couple of months, and so this was the first time we were able to gather together. And you could feel that energy in the room that was different. And so, you get, the excitement for me is seeing 20 people with individual ideas coming together. And I think as you read across the groups, each individual one, as a collective, we're all circling the same spot. We're not quite there yet, but it's exciting to take these 20 individuals with different ideas and all of a sudden start forming these centralized ideas. So it's been really, really interesting and fun to be part of.
Okay, thank you. And Vice Chair Manning?
Well, we're having an opportunity we're setting up sort of the framework for what the work, this is going to take longer than I maybe thought it would, but We're working on setting up value statements and a new mission statement and a new vision statement. And they could be similar to the ones we currently have, but collectively as a group, we are sort of just reevaluating our focus as a district and, looking at everything very closely. Words matter. And so we're looking at setting up these foundational sorts of directional statements that will then set the direction and foundation for the district's future strategic plan in the coming months. So it's a nice opportunity. It's nice to work with everyone, and it's an extra meeting, I know, for everyone. And we especially appreciate those community members who are participating and those students that are participating as well. And they've provided a lot of important feedback and hope that they will continue to do so. And as we are we're just in the kind of the beginning of this process.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, and so Madam Chair and trustees, it may be that, the strategic planning, as we were hoping that we'd be at a point by October, what we might have by October is when we have the vision and mission, but the work has to continue. And I think that's what we're finding is that there's just so much, the conversation's rich, and we still have work to do to build, let's say, a plan around our literacy, our pre-K-12 literacy, around our pre-K-12 math. So we'll get to that, but this is a really important work. And I have to agree, words matter. And I think people are, we want to be held accountable to what we say. And then how do we do that? So thank you. That's all. That was my report.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And, the fact that we have on these different groups, we've got trustees, we have yourself and, patrons and the students and also people from the community. I think that's really going to help us have a really good rounded idea of what our community Caldwell is looking for.
Yeah, I expect that we'll expand that. I mean, there will be a point that we will be expanding that. And so to even gather more input and we'll have the key or the core and then the values that, getting more input on what is that and what does that look like? Possibly getting more input on goals. These are, our group may work on this is what we think. What do you, and then going out and checking with community members and parents and students about those goals.
Okay. Well, thank you for the update. We appreciate it. Okay. All righty. And so the next item is our patron input. So from what I understand, we had no patron input today. And just so our audience knows, any patron who wishes to have input at this meeting must have submitted their email to our clerk by the day of the meeting at noon. Written comments must include your name, address, and telephone number. So if you wish to have patron input, please let us know and make sure that input is submitted in a timely fashion. All right, next on the agenda is our consent agenda. And at this time, the board may take action to approve, deny, amend, modify, or postpone action on any of these items listed below. And we can approve all the following items by a single vote unless we have a member on the board who would like to have an item removed and considered and discussed separately. So at this time, I would like to ask for a motion of whether we approve all of them or just part of them. Trustees?
Madam Chair, I move to approve and accept the consent agenda as listed.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. I'd like to ask for a second.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussions, trustees? On any of these? And then maybe on the further discussion, I'd just like to add for the contracts of trustees, if you have gone over them, these are just the regular annual agreements, contracts that we do every year. And it's nothing, it's just the same, just to keep those contracts going for the school year, okay? And those are for the last three items on there, but that's all I had for discussion. All right, so then I would like to ask for a vote if there's no further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion carries on the consent agenda. Okay, so now we have the regular agenda. And at this time, I would like to, let me see, is proclaim April 15th, April 10th through the 16th of this year, 2021, Week of the Young Child. And so, just so you know, this is the 50th anniversary of the Week of the Young Child. And what it is a annual national celebration that focuses on public education for the needs of our youngest children and their families, and recognize the importance of the early childhood program and services that meet those needs. And so the Idaho AEYC, Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children, recognizes that early childhood years, birth through age 9, lay the foundation for the child's success in school and later life. So we know now more than ever before that it's important that the kids, that we start in the earliest years to help shape their development. And this is a time to recognize that their children's opportunities are our responsibilities, and to recommit ourselves to ensure that each and every child experiences the type of early environment, whether it's at home, at childcare, at school, and in the community, that can promote early learning. So I don't know if you remember the last time that we were together, trustees, it was a month ago, and we kind of spoke about the importance of early childhood education. And, you know, we're hoping in our district to make some, just to start talking about that or addressing that a little bit more. We had Ms. Lawson speak to us about different things that we can do to help in this early childhood. So as such, I would like to read the local proclamation for our district. And so this is it. Whereas the Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children, which is the Idaho AEYC, is celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 10th through 16th, 2021. And whereas this organization is working to promote and inspire high-quality early childhood experiences for our state's youngest citizens that can provide a foundation of learning and success for children in Caldwell, Idaho. And whereas teachers and others who work with or on behalf of young children birth through age 8 who make a difference in the lives of young children in Caldwell deserve thanks and recognition. And whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to young children's futures and to the prosperity of our society. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Trustees of the Caldwell School District, do hereby proclaim April 10th through the 16th, 2021, as the Week of the Young Child in Caldwell, Idaho, and encourage all citizens to work to support and invest in early childhood in Caldwell. Okay, so that is the proclamation. And then I look for a quote, and I really like this quote. It's from Pablo Casales, and it says, "A child must know that he is a miracle, that since the beginning of the world, there hasn't been, and until the end of the world, there will not be another child like him." And I think that's important, that we let our children know that there's never going to be anybody like them. And I'm sure Dr. Seuss has said it over and over again in his books, but it's important that they know that they're not just another kid in a classroom, that they are special. So in their own sense. Okay. All right. That takes care of that proclamation.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
let's make a motion.
Okay, so we would like to have a motion. Let's see. I think I am.
Accept the proclamation.
Oh, yes. I would like to ask for a motion to accept the proclamation that was just read by yours truly.
Chair, make a motion to accept the proclamation as read.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Like to ask for a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, any further discussion on the proclamation of the Week of the Young Child? Hmm, okay, and I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion carries. All right, thank you. Yay for the young child. Okay, and next on our agenda is Florida trip by Dr. Melissa Farrow. Are you on, Dr. Farrow?
Good evening. How are you all?
Doing good, thank you.
So I'm here this evening. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman Pesena and the rest of our board. I'm here this evening just to continue updating you on the progress of the Florida trip. We had approved some rescheduling dates for it back in the fall. I think it was the October board meeting. We had rescheduled it. And I told you as I got new information, I would make sure to bring that forward to you all so that you could stay updated and in the loop of where things have been. And so I wanted to update you that we have officially moved into the travel pre-trip intent to travel loop with World Strides. And I wanted to update you on some of the protocols that World Strides has in place so that I can get final go ahead to begin working with our trip group again to be able to actually go to Florida in June of this year and see those darn manatees that we've been trying so hard to see for the last, 2 years now. So some of these protocols are included in the board docs. So I don't have a slide deck or anything to show you this evening, but I did just want to go through some of the protocols that are in your action items details in the board docs this evening. And I think that all of these are great precautions and great protocols to have in place as we think about resuming our travel plans. First of all, the World Strides Company is asking us to participate in pre-departure testing. So all of the travelers, whether they be the adult chaperones or the students, will be asked to take a PCR COVID-19 test somewhere between 3 and 5 days before we depart on the trip. And then they will have to provide a negative result to myself as the trip group leader before we're able to get on the airplane on that, I think it's a Thursday morning. If the person has tested or has a positive test result because of the fact that they've had COVID within 90 days of the PCR COVID test, we are just going to ask that they provide some letters, some documentation from their doctor saying that they have recovered from the COVID-19. Masking will be required on the trip. Right now, there is actually a federal mandate in place that airports, airplanes, and national parks require masking. And because a lot of the time that we'll spend will be in one of those 3 places, that will definitely cover us there. The travelers will each be provided with a safety kit by World Strides free of charge. That safety kit will contain 2 disposable masks for each day of the trip, as well as hand sanitizer to help them be able to sanitize during the different components of our trip. The students are free to bring their own masks if they feel more comfortable with the masks that they've been wearing throughout the school year. We will encourage our students to bring multiple masks if they choose to bring their own. Those of you who've ever traveled to Florida before know that humidity is definitely an issue, and we want our kids feeling dry and clean that entire time they're down there. So we will encourage them to bring their own masks, but they will be provided with a travel safety kit by the World Strides Company for free. We will be following a podding protocol, very similar to some of the stuff we've done in the district this year at our elementary and secondary schools. The students will be podded by room selection. And then once they've selected their roommates, that pod will travel together throughout the rest of the week. Because we do anticipate the students may want to take their masks off in the hotel room to sleep at night. Those would be the only students that they'd be exposed to without masks on. That pod of students would eat together at meal times. That pod of students would participate in the squid dissection and the shark dissection together as a pod. They'd sit on the bus together as a pod. So this provides us with some safety and a protocol in place in case we do have to do any contact tracing while we're down there. We will be participating in daily safety briefings with the course leader from the World Strides organization. And there will be lots of breaks built into our travel day for students to sanitize, wash their hands, and change their masks if they need to. We will be given a touchless thermometer by World Strides that will be provided to our trip group so that we can do morning and evening symptom and temp checks for each of our travelers. Again, that temperature, that touchless thermometer will be provided to us for free by World Strides as part of our trip group. There is going to be, the World Strides company is asking for at least 2 adults to be traveling on the trip. There are currently 6 adults that are traveling on the trip. This provides us with the benefit of, in the event that we do have a student or an adult who tests positive while we're down there, I'm able to remain with that student or adult and work through the positive COVID protocols with that student or adult, while the other 5 adults are able to continue on and help the rest of the students participate in the program as planned without any disruptions to their day. I will say that World Strides has assured me that part of their plan is if for some reason a student tests positive while we're in Florida, World Strides company will pay for a parent to fly down to Florida to stay with their child. They'll provide housing for that parent and child until such point as the parent and child can return safely back to Idaho. And all of that travel arrangements will be taken care of by World Strides and will be covered by World Strides. So I really feel like they have a lot of protocols in place that are going to make this trip safe and fun and effective for all of us that are planning on going. Right now, they have just started resuming their travel process to Florida. The first 2 trips to travel to the Tampa area are supposed to travel here in the next few days. And at this point, all of the venues that we're planning to go to, except for one, have fully reopened and are receiving the public. The only one that hasn't reopened is a private reserve. And they anticipate that that one should be open by June when we go down there. The beautiful thing about that is it's a private reserve that's owned by a cattle ranching family, and they only allow 50 people per day onto their property. So right off the bat, we'll have a lot of social distancing, physical distancing in place for us when that venue opens back up. So with all of those travel protocols and safety protocols in place, I did just want to stand for questions this evening. If any board members had any concerns or any thoughts they wanted to share with me. And then I think that this is on the board agenda tonight as an action item so that we can move forward with the rest of our trip planning.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Farrell. So can you tell us again what the dates are for the trips?
I had the calendar pulled up just a second ago and I just closed it. Right now we are scheduled to fly out on the morning of Thursday, June 10th, and then return to Caldwell on the evening of Monday, June 14th. Normally we don't travel over a weekend like that, but with all of the rescheduling that World Strides had to do, as everything kind of filtered through over the summer and into the fall, those were the dates that ended up getting assigned to us. And those are the dates that I was able to bring to the board back in October.
Okay, thank you. And how many students total?
Right now, we plan on traveling with 20 students and 6 adults.
Okay. Well, the information that you provided to me sounds very, like it's been very well thought out and very well planned out, you know, for if, you know, the preventative measures and then also what would happen if, you know, anybody got sick. So thank you for those detailed information. Trustees, do you have any questions for Dr. Farrell?
I was just gonna.
Yeah, Trustee Butler.
Yeah, Dr. Farrell, I was curious about the World Strides. Is that a new organization that you're working with, or is this the normal organization that you've worked with in years past?
Great question, thank you. Chairwoman Pesena and Trustee Butler. World Strides is actually an organization that has always run this trip for us. We've worked with World Strides for the last the last 12 years. So they've run 5 trips for us. And this is an organization that actually has almost 50 years in the travel business. They actually started out as a couple of teachers who were interested in providing travel opportunities to students and decided that they would take on this idea as they retired of creating a travel organization. World Strides has been a partner of the Caldwell School District, I think, for even longer than I've been working with them. They are the ones that do a lot of our music programs. When our students travel to California to perform in music competitions down there, it's often World Strides that we're traveling with. And we've also had several, I know at Jefferson, and I also think at the high school, we've had several social studies trips participate in one of their programs called Close Up DC. So this is a fantastic organization, very solid in the educational travel community, and somebody that I've worked with for years now. They've been fantastic, very responsive, great customer service, very responsive to the needs of our school district, understanding that our kids can't necessarily come up with the full trip price in one payment, making payment arrangements with families, waiving late fees. So fantastic organization to work with.
All right, wonderful, thank you. Yeah, I was just really impressed by their website that you had put on Board Docs and the information that they provide. And so I was just really impressed and appreciative of them and everything that they're doing to help get all these kids to be able to travel again safely and provide these opportunities. Thank you.
Yes, Vice Chairman.
Dr. Farah, so can you remind us again how you decide who goes on the trip and how many kids and or parents go from year to year?
That's a great question. Thank you, Chairwoman Pesena and Vice Chair Manning. The trip is open to any of our Caldwell School District students who are interested in science and think that they might want to explore a career or a future experience with the world of marine biology or microbiology or hydrology, any variety of different ecology, water-related careers. The way that the trip cycle works in our district is I usually start the year before the trip happens in April, and I go to both Syringa and Jefferson middle schools, and I do a presentation about the trip. Sometimes I have former students who participated come and be part of the presentation. I definitely have years now worth of travel photos to show off at the presentation. This gives me an opportunity to provide information to the parents and talk to them about the different protocols that the company has in place for travel just on a regular year. And then students sign up for the trip based on interest. Now, I will say that there is a price tag that comes along with this trip. And because it's an all-inclusive trip that covers airfare, hotels, admission to all of the exhibits, all of the food for the week, it covers it's a beautiful package deal. It does have a price tag that comes along with it. And because that price tag is a little steep for most Caldwell families, we do spend from April of one year to March of the next year, so a full 12 months in a fundraising cycle. The students that go on this trip are students who work really hard for it and who really want this opportunity. I can tell you that World Strides always gives us fantastic compliments in our feedback about how well behaved the Caldwell students are, how engaged the Caldwell students are, and how much the Caldwell students just impress them with their behavior and their citizenship and their interest in all of the science topics that we cover. Once we get to March of that school year, because we've taken a full year to go through the fundraising cycle, the students who sign up for the trip are usually in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade when they sign up for the trip. But by the time we actually go on the trip the following June, most of the students are at the end of 7th grade, end of 8th grade, and end of 9th grade, which also is a nice maturity for the students to begin doing some of their first traveling, possibly away from their families, possibly out of state for the first time. That's a good age for them to go on that experience. Now, with that being said, I have had a couple of students who were high school level who went with us in the past because they weren't able to attend the previous trip cycle or they were new to the district. This year, the student body group that's going on the trip is going to be slightly older than in past years because of the year delay that we've had in traveling. And we do have a couple of sibling pairs that are joining us. So the older sibling is a little outside of that middle school age group, but they're coming along with a middle school age sibling. All of the adults who are traveling with us this year are traveling as, again, paid participants on the program. They don't necessarily receive any scholarship or any discount on their price. So they are going to participate as people who are interested. So we're providing an experience for community members as well. But it's a fantastic way for kids and parents to share in a science experience, to share in a study of a place that's not Caldwell, Idaho. So that was a really long answer just to say that there are a variety of student ages, though usually late middle school, early high school, and definitely students who opt into this and spend upwards of a year preparing to go on the trip.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so thank you, Dr. Farrow. So at this time, I guess we do know it's an action item. And so I would like to,
No, that's right.
we're good?
We just
Okay.
wanted to make sure that board still is okay with her, with the trip going forward.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I know that we had said it was okay back then, but do we need to do a motion at this time? or-
We left it, we put it down as an action item in case. Well, I
Okay.
think the case that you didn't feel like it was safe to go,
Oh, okay.
mostly, but right now we're under the impression that what you approved
Back
in October 24 was, but we didn't want to go forward if you were uncomfortable with sending.
Okay, okay. So trustees, do you feel comfortable going forward with, it looks like Dr. Farrow's done her homework and everything's in place, and these kids, I'm sure, have worked hard to raise the money and to be able to get to go, so are we good with continuing with what we,
I don't think we need to make a motion. if you're
Yeah,
having change.
I think, yeah.
If everything's going
I'm
forward.
good.
yeah, so everyone's good with what we voted back in the day, okay.
Okay, so
All right.
it's still approved.
It's
Still
still
approved.
approved, so thank you, Dr. Farrow.
Bring back
lots of
some sun.
Yeah, bring back a lot of pictures and, you know, hopefully we'll be able to have the kids present to us when they come back in the fall.
Yeah, thank you so much for continuing to support this opportunity for Caldwell kids, and definitely you can expect some great pictures and postcards as these kids finally. I had one parent who I said, "Is your kid really excited about getting to finally see this manatee that he's been looking for the last 2 years?" And her email back to me was, he just said, "Honestly, you have no idea." So the Caldwell kids are really excited about this opportunity, and again, I just really appreciate your support as we move forward with this program for Caldwell kids.
Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Okay, you do as well. All right, and now Miss Mills' favorite project of the year, the 2021-2022 school calendar recommendation. Take it away, Miss Mills.
Madam Chair, trustees, this year went as smooth as ever. We have in front of you a proposal for the 2021-2022 school year. I believe in your packet you have both the staff and parent calendar. The process has been similar to what we've done in the past. We've had representation from both administration, classified, district office, and certified, as well as CEA representation. We sent surveys out to both staff and parents. The committee at that time took considerations based on what survey results were, put together several proposals. There were 5 proposals that the committee chose to send out for the initial vote, which was narrowed down to 2. The second vote then is what you have in front of you. It came down to calendar F and H, with F winning, at least within our staff, both classified and certified, as well as administration. The calendar of choice garnished about 69% of the votes, with 310 folks voting, which is about typical. And so I'm here tonight, first of all, to stand for questions, but the second is to recommend that calendar F is the calendar of choice for the 21-22 school year.
Okay.
And there are 2 other committee members that are here that would love to take questions.
So who else is on the committee? Miss Mills, oh. I was serious.
We would love to.
Okay, well, let's formulate some questions then. So is it very different from last year's? I mean, I apologize for not knowing exactly what last year's. was.
Madam Chair, trustees,
Mhm.
there is basically one day difference. And it's the start date. The proposed start date, as compared to last year, had we started without the delay to the 27th. Where we always run into interesting conversations is where Christmas falls. And this year Christmas is at the end of the week. And so we have two proposals. One is ending where it was on the 17th as well as into the next week. There's always great conversation about semesters, making sure semesters are balanced. And I feel confident, however, that both secondary and elementary, when you start to look at the results, equally felt that the first semester is short by a couple days as compared to second semester. We are still within the contractual obligations of 183 days for certified staff, 171 days for student instruction, as well as continuing with the Wednesday afternoons collaboration time. It's incredibly similar to the current calendar we're on.
Okay. All right, any questions, trustees? Questions?
I think for me, I just wanted to point out that we are back to Wednesday early release, that it is not a 4+1 as we're currently in, but it is a 5-day or a 4+ early release day.
Yeah.
That we will be back in school 5 days a week, with Wednesday going back to that early release.
Madam Chair, you'll all see on the calendar that we've not established registration dates. We will meet with administration here in the next little bit and fill that information in for you. And then once we have that, Allison will share it out to the community.
Okay. Okay, are we good for a vote? So this is the recommendation for the school calendar committee to accept this one. Okay.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 school calendar.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, trustees? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. We were gonna ask China some questions.
Yeah.
I know.
Send the motion.
Yeah.
Make a motion to China has to answer some questions.
Okay. All right, so our next agenda item is the Canyon Springs Accreditation Report. So do we have Ms. McMillan online? Or, yeah, I think I see her. Okay, you're on, Christine.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman Pacina and trustees. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm here to speak about our accreditation review that occurred at Canyon Springs in February. I would like to point out that this occurred during COVID year, and so we believe we should get extra credit for that. Accreditation is always a stressful time for a school. In order to prepare for it, there's a lot of work that goes up front. We prepare evidence throughout the year, including documentation such as data we've collected, meeting notes, lesson plans, etc. And we prepare all these into a series of folders that are shared with the accreditation team. And then on the day of the accreditation, or 2 days, they come in and they do interviews. As you know, several of you were participating in those interviews. And they take a look at a couple different areas with different standards. The first area that they look at is the leadership capacity. And then the second is learning capacity. And the third is resource capacity. So it takes them a little while afterwards to prepare the report. And I shared that with you today. It should be in your board documents. Essentially, I'm just going to highlight a few of their findings and answer any questions you might have. The report is nice because it grades it on red, yellow, green, and blue, which is very easy to understand. I'm happy to say we didn't have any red. Yellow would be considered initiating. It's those procedures that we're just putting into place, and we want to continue to enhance and extend them. Green is areas that we're improving in, quality practices that are improving for our standards. And then blue is areas that we're actually seeing some impact, changes that are in place, and some noteworthy practices in place. So in the first area, which is the leadership capacity, domain, we saw a lot of blue and a lot of green. Some of our stronger areas are our evaluation process for teachers, which is district-wide. We also are taking steps to engage our stakeholders, and we provide experiences that cultivate and improve leadership effectiveness. So those were some of our stronger areas in leadership. In a yellow category, we had leaders collect and analyze a range of feedback data from multiple stakeholder groups. So we're just starting to initiate that process. In the area of learning capacity, which are things that happen primarily in the classroom, I'd like to point out that in a typical accreditation, the team comes in and spends time in your building doing classroom observations. And it was a little unfair because they didn't get that opportunity this time around because of COVID. So to supplement that, we provided lots of lesson plans and some of our visible learning practices and evidence from our impact teams. But it's still not the same as having them actually in the classroom with you. So we were able to see a lot of good green areas, things that we're working on, implementing a curriculum that's based on high expectations, using processes to identify and address the specialized needs of learners, and our assessment capacity, how we're assessing as students are learning. So lots of good green areas. In a yellow area is the institution implements a process to ensure the curriculum is aligned to standards and best practices. So that's an area that we're started, we've initiated, but maybe we're not as strong as we'd like to be yet. In resource capacity domain, again, we saw a good balance of yellow and green areas. Green would include, we provide process to information resources and materials to support. And I always think about resources as partly from the whole school district and what is provided to Canyon Springs and support levels and things along those lines. And as I said, a lot of this is very good. We have good professional development in place, and we have they felt we had good resources. So those are sort of the color-coded scores, but more importantly is the report that we look at, which are some of the insights from the team. And if you're following along, this starts on page 9. And this is just sort of what they gleaned, probably primarily from the interviews that they did. We are looking at the multiple interviews. So understand they interviewed teachers, they interviewed leadership team, board, Dr. French, they interviewed, students. So it was kind of across the board that they looked at this. And they felt that we were very committed to our purpose at Canyon Springs and our clear vision. And we were really in line with making sure that we all felt that we had a purpose and that we knew what we were supposed to be doing. The leadership team provided evidence to demonstrate the support. So that was another place where we got evidence to support, was from the leadership team. And they said the school is doing excellent work to involve stakeholders in the mission and vision. We started our process of reviewing our mission and vision because of the accreditation. When we looked at our initial, when we looked at the initial stuff that we had been given, it was clear that we weren't as clear on the mission and vision as we needed to be, which is ironic because the district is also doing the same work, and it's important work. We've learned a lot from it. They did mention that Canyon Springs has been in a state of transition over the last 5 years with a lot of positive changes, but there's still changes that have taken place. They mentioned that at this time, I'd been there for 1.5 years, and a year of that, half of the year had been a COVID year, which slowed down some of our growth and some of our abilities to put some of these things into place. And Canyon Springs has had 3 principals in 5 years. So that was significant. Part of this process too is they want to see multiple years of data available. So 5 years of data available. And right now we only have 2 years essentially. And some of that is just relatively new data. So as we continue to collect that, those ratings will be higher for us. Things that we collect are things like our credit recovery data, our DNF data, our pass rate, all sorts of those things. So that was mentioned. Let me see what else. I want to highlight too that it was really clearly evident to the accreditation team that our students feel, our stakeholders and our students feel safe and appreciated at Canyon Springs. They know it's a place where they're loved and they're cared for. They mentioned the Tiger's Den as a resource and the meaning of that to some of our families that have been able to utilize that in this tough time. And they really wanted to say that we should be proud of our efforts there. So that was really nice reaffirming piece of that. And then obviously they just thanked us for our time, and we did pass accreditation. I suppose I should have said that, but yes, we did pass our accreditation process. It's always a growth. You know, you don't just pass and then you're done. It's now the next steps are, now we continue to manage and look at these areas of growth and always striving to do better. So it was a good experience. I've served on about 6 accreditation teams, and I like to say that it's good if there's no surprises, because we're supposed to know where our strengths are and where areas of improvement are. And I felt that this reflected where we knew we were. So that was a good thing. Do you have any questions? That was a lot of information.
Okay, thank you, Ms. McMillan. As I was reading through this accreditation report, I noticed the highlights that you mentioned. And one of the things that I kind of got out of it too was your KP3 program.
Oh, yes.
I thought that was really, really cool. The kind
Yes.
professional presence.
Yes.
And that being a behavioral model for our students as well as our staff and our professionals that work there at Caldwell, at Canyon Springs High School. And I like that where they said that, you know, while the foundation is there and the team believes they're all on the same page, that Canyon Springs, they said just need more time to develop the professional development plan, to develop their school professional development plan to ensure embeddedness within the institution. But I think you folks are doing a good job of that. And just because the student's success, I understand, is being supported by this KP3 program, and the belief that these students' emotional learning is just as important as their academic learning. And sometimes that may be the reason that they're there, is that, you know, the emotional support that they need. And I think that by following this behavioral model, it kind of gives them, you know, like limits of where they should be. And sometimes, you know, I believe that sometimes I miss where my limits are, my boundaries are, you know, and so this also helps them feel safe, you know, in the school. And so I want to give kudos to that, because that was one of the things that the report mentioned, and I thought that was really, really good. And then, you know, the part where you said that the students shared that they felt safe and they felt supported. So, you know, especially with the Tiger Den, you know, the little food pantry that they have there for anybody to come in, not just the school, not just the students, but the community partners or their parents, you know, to come in and help and utilize those what they need, you know, to better themselves. So I was glad to see that.
Yeah.
And you know, totally understand the fact that it is a school that has had 3 principals in the last 5 years. So we're getting there, you know, we're getting there. And they did also mention the turnover in staff is probably, you know, so we have to work on. And so, but like I said, we'll get there. And I'm glad to have seen so much blue and so much green on that report. So thank you for getting that report done and helping out with that. Trustees, do you have any questions? Anything, any comments that you'd like to share with Mrs. McMillan?
Madam Chair and Mrs. McMillan, I just had a quick question. Is accreditation a yearly process? And go ahead. ma'am.
Sorry. Yes, it's not done yearly. It's done every 5 years.
Okay,
Yeah, this is the second one I've done in a building.
okay. And what kind of team do you have that helps prepare for this accreditation?
I utilized our leadership team. There's quite a bit of documentation that has to be done ahead of time. And so I utilized the leadership team. In fact, we shared the love.
Okay. And one more follow-up question. I don't know this question. You're going to educate me here today. What happens if we fail in an accreditation?
Well, in my years of doing accreditation teams, I've never seen a school actually fail one. I believe probably what would happen is just the recommendations would be made for some serious changes, and then it would be reevaluated. So they don't like to just pull it. It's always a matter of support. How can we help you to do better?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McMillan, and for your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, trustees, or comments? Question?
Madam Chair, trustees,
Yes.
if a school does not pass accreditation, their credits do not count for any student then any place in the state of Idaho, or to go on to college to count on the transcript for further education. So it's a big deal.
Yeah. Yes.
And I would say, just to follow up with Mrs. McMillan, they do work with the school, because they really don't want to see that happen, but we'd have to do some. We would, like Christine said, hopefully that would be a surprise. If there was an issue that severe, we would be addressing it along the way.
And I'd
We
like
take-
to point, I'm sorry, I just want to say, I'd like to point out on page 8 at the bottom, they talk about the range 289.5, and that's pretty good. And in the middle, it says assurances met. Yes, that's a big X right there. It says yes, so we're happy about that. I made sure to highlight that part.
Yes, we do take it very seriously, and it's a good process because it shows you exactly where you're doing things well, as well as areas you can grow. So it's a worthwhile process. I support it, even though it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, I just wanted to ask one thing. I think, Ms. McMillan, you said you're not supposed to know, or you're supposed to know if there are any surprises. So after all of this, are there any things that you were surprised, either good or bad, or you thought, oh, I thought we were doing better there, maybe we're not, or I thought we were struggling there, but we're actually doing really well, or any of those kind of feelings going through this?
I really wasn't surprised by much of this information. So that was a good thing because we did our homework. I wasn't very surprised. I thought we might have a few more conversations about things that they saw in the classroom, but I think because they weren't able to attend the classes, it was a little bit different. So that's where that was. And I'm sure it would have been positive too. It's just the conversations were not as rich as if they spend the day visiting your classrooms.
Okay, well, thank you, and thank you for all of your hard work and your team's hard work and the success.
Thank you.
You're good? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Ms. McMillan. We appreciate your time and your hard work on this. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. So now we are down to the start times for 2021 and 2022 school year. Trustees, if you remember at our last meeting, I know it was like 4 weeks ago, and we got to go back there in time and try to remember. We had we discussed a little bit information only about the benefits of starting school or changing the start times in school. And so I think Dr. French has some more information for us. Dr. French.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm trustee. So I have uploaded into board docs another study from the American Academy of Pediatrics on the adolescent sleep I won't say sleep patterns. And also it was interesting. So we had this meeting, well, I introduced it as an information only, something to consider as we go forward. And after that meeting, we were in the superintendent council meeting with teachers from a teacher representative from each of the buildings. And the question came up, are we moving forward with that? I was a bit surprised because we really haven't put it out to teachers. We've just started, having the board consider it. But there seemed to be from that group a positive support to really have the board consider it. It wasn't just a, hey, think about this and maybe in a couple of years we'll do something. But that there was support from the teacher groups, teacher representatives. And then we had heard from one or two principals, like an elementary principal and a secondary, that if they'd like to know if we're really going to move forward because they want to plan their schedules. So the one concern that had been brought forward is if we did start early with elementary students, what would happen at the end of the day? Because they would be out of school at around 2:30. And what we did give you a proposed schedule, just a mock-up of what it might be like for the secondary. And also I've given you a mock-up of what Caldwell High School thinks it could possibly be like that they created for your review. We did talk about the elementary, that time frame, because the concern, of what would parents, how would they respond? What would be their concerns? Just thinking through those possibilities. And it is possible we would run our orchestra program at the end of the day, because secondary, the middle schools are still in session. So it's possible if we could work that out, that elementary orchestra, the 5th grade, would go to their respective middle school. One of the middle school principals had asked us to please consider if we could do that. Could we do that for band? So is it a possibility that we could have a after school elementary 5th grade band and or orchestra that could run at the end of the day? We have talked, just visiting with the Tamara and this group of, we do have some 21st century activities that take place in 3 of our elementaries after the school day. What would it be like if there were opportunities for students after school for extended learning at the elementary level? Because not all parents would be opposed to having their children come home at 2:30. They might be home and they'll be glad to have them home at 2:30 or 3, whatever the time the bus would drop them off. But there are others that may need some support that way of, is there something my stepchild could do after school? But so we were thinking through that, and we're continuing that conversation. We meet with the administrators elementary tomorrow and the secondary on Thursday. And this is part of that topic. But I just wanted to let you know that there has been a surprising, it's either 50-50, yeah, you can, I don't mind, sure, from a teacher group standpoint, and also a positive push to say, are we really considering this? And so I did want to bring it back to you today, informationally, so you could kind of see the thoughts that are going behind what would it look like and how would we address certain needs for students. Okay, and for that, I would say stand for questions, but I will take questions if you have questions. I do believe this mirrors Valley View's schedule fairly closely.
So this Excel worksheet that you gave us. So this is what we have right now, early start. Is it placed right now? Or?
And I believe Anita is on the line. So this was just a mock-up of what it could possibly be like if they had an early start or a late start. And Anita, I would have to ask you the Excel spreadsheet you sent from, is your early start, is that a reflection
of how it is
right now? So I'm looking at it and I would say yes, but I need her to.
Dr. French, thank you. Madam Chair, thanks for having me on here. Just a clarification, Dr. French, which one are you referring to? The one that
Aaron, the one that you and Aaron sent?
Just give me one moment. Let me grab it real quick.
Because you'll, this one that was on board docs, This was actually brought in into early, that's what we know it to be today.
Mhm.
On the left hand side.
Yes,
So, yes, the one that Aaron sent, right now, we begin school at 7:50 and we end at 2:57. That's our schedule now. Not, excuse me, not right now, in a normal year. Thank you.
Okay. And then the late start is the proposed.
it was yes, Anita had, this was a suggestion too, something
Okay.
else to consider.
Mhm.
The one thing it does provide is a little extra time in the morning to do a 0 hour. That's not at 6 a.m.
Yes.
So there could still be an opportunity to
Mhm.
provide classes
Mhm.
in the morning.
And the 0 hour is optional, correct? Is that,
Yes,
not everybody has a 0 hour.
that is correct.
Mhm.
Madam Chair, Trustee Butler, yes,
Okay. And so this is just information only, but
it is.
we would probably, do our process would be, just to make sure that it works with, I mean, what would our process be? Maybe that's the question from
Okay, so-
here.
So
going
Madam
forward.
Chair and trustees, we will be visiting about this with administrators this week.
Okay.
Then I will get with Allison
Mhm.
and then, get the feel from what the principals feel that, could or could not be done or their concerns. And then we can work with our teacher group and then parents.
Okay.
Just to get an idea of what that would be like. We do have parents that work in our district who their children go to Valley View and they've expressed, this is what happens and,
Mhm.
and they have, and that's where you can ask China questions.
Oh.
So she's been so China, what's it like for you as a parent of a child that attends a school where there's a late and early start? And I'll just throw that out there in case. But anyway, that's what the next steps would be to first meet with administrators. I'll get with Allison and I reach out again to the superintendent council because they're kind of our feedback, our line of communication at a teacher level.
Mhm.
Although they are communicating with their administrators, that communication does go out into that forum. But then also looking to get some feedback from parents I don't want parents I don't want to put it out too soon if it's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
Because I don't want them to be like, oh, is this going to happen? And you're like, well, we still have some things we need to work out.
Mhm.
So that's where we're at is the working out, but we do want to put this before you, because if you're feeling like we are not going this direction, I just need to know. If you're like, oh, this is not the time. So,
Okay,
I have a question.
go ahead.
So you've got the secondary schools here on board docs. So what would the elementary then look like?
so yes, so elementary, the start time is 7:40, would be around 7:40 and out by around 2:30. There needs to be about an hour in transportation. April has reached out to CPC to say, what would we have to do for this to work for public transportation? And we need about an hour to drop off elementary and then go pick up secondary.
What would it look like in the wintertime for elementary kids to be picked up?
That's the question that comes up. It's the after school for elementary and then the time of day that they're being picked up. That's working with CTC to find out when are those times. I think the students at Farmway Village, that's when we need to work on.
Yeah.
Because they would be, in my mind, they're going to be the earliest group picked up
Right.
because they have the longest ride on the bus.
Mhm.
So that's working with them as well to, if their pickup time is 7:10, okay. That way, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, know where they're at the bus stop. If it's 6:50, we need to know why and what we can do to make that maybe not quite so early, although, I don't know, China, would you speak to your own children, maybe the time to get?
Yeah, so my oldest goes to Sage Valley, and my two younger children go to Skyway. So relatively close by, but my oldest son gets picked up at 7:20 if he rides the bus, even though school doesn't technically start until about 8:27 or somewhere along those lines. because of the way the Valley does their busing. The bus route that he's on has to take 2 loops, and so he just happens to be on the first loop. And so he gets there and he just has a longer time that he's either waiting for breakfast or doing whatever other activities that they have for the students before school actually starts. And then my other kiddos, they don't ride the bus because we're so close. But yeah, even though the secondary starts later, in the case of my kiddos, he does get on the bus that early because of the routes that they need to go.
Thank you. And I would say that's where we would want to make sure we're looking at that, because that would, we don't want to defeat the purpose of a late start by having they have to be up as early as they were ever before. So we would, but I think CTC is open to that. They're willing to work. They just need to know ahead of time what that might look like. And I look at April because she works so closely with them, as you know. Anyway, it's information only. And then I'll visit with Chairman Pacina about possibly bringing it back on April 26th for that special, or yes, for that meeting. And then let's see where we'd like to go. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so moving rapidly along, let's see, our district continuing school operation plan for 2020-2021 school year. So Dr. French.
Thank you. So Madam Chair and trustees, you have received new updates today from Southwest District Health on incident rate by school. And when I received this in time to put on the board docs, Caldwell was at a 1.327, and today we were at a 1.137, and that's for students that's within our district boundaries. So that is looking better. And then the Southwest also sent their case analysis, and we had at this point in time between April 4th to April 10th, 0 staff and 2 students. So just an update for you. And then you have the older updates from the end of March when they had sent those. We have a couple requests that I want to make sure that I cover. So we have a request to allow for concerts at Caldwell High School, and request to allow for a prom that we would want to speak to. And then we also have a request to allow for a vaccination clinic at Sacagawea cafeteria, which would bring patrons onto the campus on May 1st. That's a Saturday. So first, let's go. We have Caldwell High School, Anita Wilson and Tracy White are here. And in regards to the prom, you will see that was shared with you where the prom, May 15th, the protocol that they're planning, the plans for the protocol. There was even a map of where the prom would be held. And the request is that we're allowed to hold the prom, move forward with this. I did ask Tracy White to be here this evening and Anita in case you had questions or concerns about what that might look like. I'll stop there and then I'll move on to the choir or the performing arts request.
Okay, so who would like to go first? Anita, would you like to go first?
Madam Chair, I would love to go first.
Good answer.
Madam Chair, trustees, if you remember, I don't know what date it was, but it was probably about this time last year. And we talked about the possibility of having a prom at another board meeting last year. And I believe that the board at that time was in favor of us having a prom. Unfortunately, we were not able to have one last school year, if you remember, which I'm sure you do, that we were out of school. The buildings were closed down, and the community spread of coronavirus was very high, a lot higher than what Dr. French is talking about, just reported on. So we're back again this year to ask that we have a prom, and Tracy can talk about the details. It's May 15th. We've had save the date posters up at school for a while, letting students know that we were working on this. And Tracy with her student group, which is student council, it's the junior class of student council, have been working very hard to come up with safety protocols that they felt like we could safely conduct a prom this school year. So with that, I would defer to Tracy to talk about any other details that she would like to.
Thank you, Chairman Pacina and trustees and Dr. French. Thank you for having me. At this time, we have talked about coming into the prom, coming into the building from the Aux Gym area, and then we will go down the athletic hallway past the Aux Gym, and then into the cafeteria where we would have our food tables set out farther than normal and spread out. And then we would have the dance floor outside on the patio. We have worked with the DJ. We talked to the DJ and he said being outside would be fine. There is a covered part of that patio where he could sit, and he's been given the dimensions and he says that's perfectly fine. We are expecting masks. We'll make sure that we let the children know that they do need to wear masks. It's for juniors and seniors. We are still talking about food and how we can safely give the kids treats, because we like to feed them at prom and they get really hot, so we like to have drinks for them. We're still trying to figure out how to make that as safe as possible.
Would it be fair to say it's going to be a masquerade party?
Well, you know, they are now making masks to go with the girls' prom dresses.
Oh, there you go. Okay, just like ties.
Yeah.
Okay. Good idea.
You have those
Whatever they can make money on.
you can use those little bendy straws for drinks too. Just slide them up with your mask.
Mhm. Okay.
There's that.
Okay, so let's see. And I'd seen on here that you had a question mark on possibly even inviting the class of 2020 to participate. Is that still something that we could do safely?
What are your thoughts on that? I just don't know quite how to plan this year. I don't know if I'm going to have 20 kids or if I'm going to have 500. I normally plan for about 350, where we didn't have a dance last year. I don't know if that means there are going to be more children coming, more students.
Madam Chair, trustees, at this time, we have said that we would not have guests from outside of our school. We kind of have been hoping for the best, I guess, that maybe, you know, things are looking really good by May 15th or right before that, and maybe we would be able to. At this time, though, we don't allow people who are not part of our school come on campus, really, without, I mean, there's a few exceptions, but, you know, with prom, it can be a lot of people.
Mhm.
Or groups of people. So we don't really quite know how to navigate that. You know, we obviously have people on campus in our athletic events, and some of that we can talk about too when we talk about the next thing, which is musical events. But so we do have, you know, there are situations like that, but at a dance, it's close proximity, and you know, we want everybody coming back to school on May 17th, healthy and able to finish out the school year. We would just not want to put students in a position where, because they attended a social event at school, that they wouldn't be able to, you know, attend school. So that's just the That's the concern there, I guess.
Okay, and I tend to agree. My personal opinion would be that, you know, if we can, let's just have our kids, at least our kids be there, be safe, you know, it is our school district and, you know, thinking that possibly our students should be the ones benefiting from their prom and not have to make it less safe for our kids. So I would tend to nod on the not accepting guests from other schools, but, you know, I'd like to hear what the other trustees have to say.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Madam Chair and trustees and Tracy and Anita. So my concern right now is when we're asking them to wear masks, and I would prefer that they were students that we knew, because they know those students even now with behind a mask. And I just want to make sure administration and Tracy's work that we're not supervising students we don't know, or situations that we may not be able to recognize. And I would agree with you. I think just for their our advisors and administrators' well-being, that they are supervising students from Caldwell that they're familiar with, and then the students understand that the mask it's expected, and that they're not getting into a discussion with the student from outside that feels that they don't need to wear a mask or something.
Yes. So I think we agree. What do you think, Vice Chairman?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So, let's see. And so who's got the crystal ball about the weather? I'm hoping that
Chair, we checked the Farmer's Almanac and it says the weather's going to be 75 and beautiful.
Okay. Great. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Very good.
So if anything happens, yeah, I feel, I don't know. I've chaperoned some of these proms and, you know, my kids don't want me to be there, but I've snuck in anyways, but, you know, and there are some years that there are a lot of kids and some years that there aren't very many kids. And so hopefully maybe the novelty, not that it's new, but, you know, because of last year, we'll have, you know, some kids, but hopefully we'll be able to accommodate if there's a larger group, you know, and open up, you know, all of the cafeteria, or, because I know in previous years, not all the cafeterias been opened up. And so I don't know how, I know decorating is a lot of fun too, and minimizing the space to minimize the, I'm gonna say it, minimize the cattle, you know, but, you know, so it's not all out there, but I just think that, yeah, it would be good. I feel that we have enough room to be able to take care of our students, to cover our students and have them physically distanced and have a good time, hopefully. So if you need a chaperone, I'm here. No.
You heard that, right?
May 15th, be there at
I just want to say I bought my prom dress. You know, I was gonna put that up there already. You know. But okay.
Chairwoman Pacina, to address that, we are going to have the main dance floor outside in the patio. The kids want to use part of it, but it will be easy enough to open up if we have more students. The other thing I've asked for the DJ is to take one of the speakers and turn it so it's into the cafeteria, so that kids can also be in part of the cafeteria as well. There'll be a little bit of dance floor in the cafeteria. So we hope we'll be able to spread them out as much as we can, and being outside will be helpful. So thank you.
Mrs. White and Mrs. Wilson, are we having the same protocols we are as in sports with the temperature checks and everything else we do with our school?
Madam Chair, Trustee Butler, can you repeat that? I didn't quite hear exactly everything at the
Are we
beginning.
having the same kind of protocol as we do in the sports, that they're getting temperature checked and other protocols like the distancing as best we can.
So, I'm sorry, that was Trustee Godina. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
The mascot of
So we're not doing, I don't think the plan is to do temperature checks
Okay.
at prom, although we certainly could do that. But we will, I think that Tracy and her group of students has planned to spread out as much as possible. And the main reason for that, obviously it's a dance. And if students are going to dance, they're going to be close together. But with bringing all the students back, I would say, you know, we're not able to 6 feet distance at Caldwell High School right now. So they're going to be at a dance. They're going to be dancing together. And that we've provided an option if students don't want to be in a big group, but they do want to attend the dance, get dressed up, get the pictures, go out to dinner, come to the school and do all the fun stuff that prom is about. But if they don't want to be on top of each other, they can, you know, there'll be places where students can spread out between the lunchroom, the patio outside, and the option that if we do have a lot of students, we can expand that as big as we need. And we have a lot of supervision planned. And now we're getting experts at cleaning things, wiping things down, washing hands, those kinds of things. So I think that Tracy has a good plan, and her group, student council, is just very, they're very aware and very conscientious about that type of thing.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, so Madam Chair, this would need the board to allow, I mean, it's a part of that continuous improvement plan, or sorry, the ongoing operation. So we just want to make sure, because right now that's not something that's been approved.
Correct. So trustees, do you feel comfortable with allowing the prom dance to go on? And are you at a point where, I guess we could do this discussion, but if we could ask for motion to approve or to add this event to our school, our continuing school operation plan.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the plan for prom to proceed.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
Okay, a second. All right, any further discussion?
I think I just like to point out the support, and, you know, it's 100% optional. So nobody has to feel forced to go, but, you know, bring up the idea of dancing. Most of the couples or people that are going to be going together are already kind of potting themselves now as groups of friends. And so they would all be going together anyway. And so by doing this, I think it'd be a great opportunity for students.
Thank
So that will be thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna be watching in my prom dress, my bright orange quinceañera dress. Okay, all right, so I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, so we are gonna have a prom. The motion carries, so.
Thank you.
All right, good luck, ladies, and, you know, thank you to the students that are helping out to keep it safe, because we know that that's our first priority, having fun, keeping it safe, and making some great memories.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair and trustees, so the next item on for the operation plan that is a request is from the music department at Caldwell High. They would like to be able to perform or plan to perform 3 concerts at some point before the end of the year. So it is on board docs, the list of the protocol that they plan to follow. I'll just read it quickly. Ensembles using the stage will be spaced out as much as possible, 3 to 6 feet. Masks will be required for all performers, instructors, and audience members. Wind players will be the only exception to this rule when in performance, while all other moments require them to be masked. Following the performance, tops of auditorium chairs and armrests will be wiped down. Parent volunteers, students, and custodians will be responsible for this task. Students will be allowed to invite 4 people to attend the performance in person. Students will invite them. Each performance will require some ushers so that they may seat groups and families 3 seats apart if the same row for latitudinal distancing. Every other row of seats will be blocked off for longitudinal distancing. Health screening will be implemented for all participants. If participants are ill, they will not be able to participate. Hand sanitation stations will be available in the auditorium area and at the entry. And so when we talk about this, this is choir, band, and orchestra, which they're each requesting to have 1 performance at the end of this school year. And that is what I have, and I do appreciate it, and I think they have been working to make sure students are safe. Anita can probably speak to, I haven't heard of any incidents at all when the fine arts program, the music programs. I do think they're prepared to make sure that they can have these concerts in a safe manner. And I would guess, Anita, that parents would enter one way and go out another door. Is that a thought?
Yes, Dr. French, that's the flow of traffic in the auditorium has been thought out. If you've been to a concert at the auditorium, everybody kind of cattle corrals out. That's not the plan, but yes, that we would have ushers who would be helping people to their seat and helping them leave. There would be people at the front, normally at a concert, people just kind of come and go as they please. Sometimes they arrive late, but there would be ushers and then also volunteers at the front of the auditorium, at the entryway to the auditorium, taking tickets. So more like what you would see normally at an athletic event. The music teachers work closely with John to get their protocols, John Halleck, to get the athletic protocols. And so it'll probably look a little bit more like that, where you come up, give your ticket, or at least have a name with a check off. That's what we do now at athletic events where students are, they're associated with a person who's rostered. So similar kind of thing with the music events, and then they would be ushered into their seat.
Okay.
I'm wondering if we could have the band, orchestra, and choir students not wear masks, like there was space, but they didn't have, if I'm understanding the plan correctly, they're gonna wear masks. So is that correct?
Madam Chair and trustees, as I read it, yes, they are. So your orchestra, your violin players, viola, cellos, and bass, those students are wearing masks while they play. The only students who are not are wind instruments students. And I'm anticipating the choir teachers expecting the choir students to wear a mask, I believe, as they're performing. Am I incorrect in that thought, Anita?
Madam Chair, trustees, Dr. French, they practice right now wearing masks. So that is how they perform right now in their classroom.
So I'm going to guess they have they have great lung capacity, and we'd have to mic them, and it's possible we can visit with Mr. G about the masking. I know that what you're saying, that's really hard, especially when you're singing. But right now they have been practicing that way, and that's how that's how I took that. He was anticipating they would perform that way.
I wonder if we could, if they took off the mask, that would be something the board would be interested in.
Well, I'm happy to visit with him and see how comfortable he feels about that, and if he can. I have watched a few high school performances from this school year that have been put on YouTube for choir, and they're spread out quite a bit. And I don't know if that's been helpful, or if wearing a mask and being able to stand closer would be better. I don't know, but we can ask him. Right now, the anticipation is the only wind instruments would not wear masks.
So what about like a trumpet player?
Yes, I was like,
Yeah, we would,
Strings.
yeah, brass and wind would, be other must. Okay.
but we would like to, we are requesting that we are able to hold this concert at the end of the year for choir, one for band.
Okay. All right, so
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we allow the choir, orchestra, and bands to have a concert, a video concert.
Okay, I have a motion. I'd like to ask for a second.
Second?
Okay, any further discussion, trustees? No, okay, I'd like to put it to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion passes unanimously, so.
Madam Chair and trustees, so the next request, just there's a Sacagawea through community school, there's community school efforts is would like to hold a vaccination clinic on May 1st. It's a Saturday from 9 to 1. And St. Alphonsus Community, I handed out, you may have a Hortensia Fernandez gave us a breakdown of what they're planning to do. St. Alphonsus outreach team is trying to get access to underserved populations by working with community partners. We would also partner with YCAP to provide families with a box of food after they have received their vaccine. We have 50 slots to fill. The cafeteria would be used for families to fill out their forms and wait for their vaccine appointment. There are 2 stations to receive the vaccine. The gym would be used for families to wait 15, 20 minutes after receiving their vaccine. The vaccine administered would be the Johnson & Johnson. St. Al's would provide all the staff required to facilitate the clinic, and Mr. Webster and Mrs. Hernandez will be on site to make sure everything is in order. And they'll provide their own medical interpreters. So it's just that they would like to use the school as a community resource for patrons or families from the Sacagawea community or Caldwell to come and receive a vaccination if they so choose. And I'm gonna guess, we've visited with Paul before about how people would come and go out the building. And where it's in the gym, he can do that. You know, there's a nice way for them to enter and exit without running into each other.
Okay. And then my only concern, well, and I'm sure it's been thought about because, you know, with everything during the pandemic, all this has been protocol, but, you know, that they would make sure and sanitize everything after.
Oh, yes.
Everything's gone.
We'll make sure that that's part of the protocol, that it's on there.
Okay. And you know, what a great avenue for our community school to be part of this type of a clinic. I'm for it, but trustees, how do you feel?
I've already got the emails announcing it, so.
Good.
It's like, we should work for the party.
So, yeah, we best get some word of mouth first. Okay, so I'd like to ask for a motion to be able to hold the vaccine clinic at Sacagawea on May 1st.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the vaccine clinic. We will at Sacagawea on May 1st.
Okay, I have a motion. I'd like to ask for a second.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussions, trustees? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, one last thing.
Yes.
Well, for tonight. So as we're planning the summer school bridge programs for summer school, we have had many requests to potentially participate in a field trip. And we would like to be able to do that. We feel that the protocol will be followed, cleaning, sanitizing, everything. There are requests there, like, can we plan to go to Deer Flats for a science field trip, or the taking advanced opportunity students to Boise State University to take a college for if Boise State's open. And so that really isn't, it's not on it's under the green. I just want to make sure that you are okay with us moving forward to allow them to plan field trips, because we're really close to green. We're acting as though we're in green. Everything we're doing is as though we're in green, except for some, like the choir concerts, we've limited a few things. But we'd like to be able to go ahead and plan field trips for the summer bridge academies, and just like Dr. Farrow's trip to Florida, that is a really big field trip. We'd just like to give those opportunities to students. Okay. So we'd like to be able to go ahead and just know with your assurance that field trips we can move forward with those in the summer break.
Okay. So trustees, That's for a motion, how do you feel about that?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to allow the summer school field trips for the Bridge Academy.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Okay, a motion and a second. Further discussion? I just,
Do we need more for just more than the Bridge Academy, or is there, will there be field trips in other capacities that we would need to? Is that too specific of a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. You know what? I would appreciate, maybe it is, because I have not received a field trip request for May. But it may be possible.
To Amanda, to make a motion for future summer school field trips for 2021.
Could, Madam Chair, could you just, future field trips?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to allow, I'd like to amend my motion to allow for future field trips.
Second.
okay. And then, further discussion, I just want to say that, just always keep in mind what our medical professionals have talked about. Make sure that they're wearing masks, they're hand sanitizing, keep those windows down in the buses, get the airflow going, and, just as much as possible, just to minimize any, anything that.
Yeah, and Madam Chair and trustees, I really haven't seen anything. The ideas are coming in for June. So, and you know what, we'll still be cautious. We'll watch. There's some places are not open yet. So thank you for the reminder.
Yes. Okay, and so I'd like to put it out for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed, nay? All right, then that, the field trip motion passes unanimously. Okay, and so that's it, okay. All right, we're almost there.
Madam Chair, question.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if Dr. French, I know we talked a few weeks ago about students being able to check out books from libraries and school libraries and their ability to browse in the library. I wonder if you could speak to that. Are students allowed to check out books?
Madam Chair and trustees, let me follow up on that. Let me follow up on that. Because, and I can visit with the elementary principals tomorrow. Just, are they still doing the mobile cart? Or, I know they're running special, and library is a special, which is, it's a rotation through. We were visiting Washington Elementary, and there were students in the library receiving instruction by the librarian. So I could feel confident saying at Washington, but let me check on the school, all of them.
Yeah, that'd be great. The CHIP secondary as well. Yeah, I know the public libraries allow patrons to browse books. And so I've heard that in some schools, maybe in most schools, maybe other schools, maybe students have not been able to browse as freely the books. And I know the board has been pretty strict in wanting to follow protocol and things like that. I suppose there's a balance, but it would be interesting. In my view, it seems like the students probably, in my view, should be able to browse, the library, to be able to walk around and touch the books and look at the books and on whatever shelf they may be on, so that they can access those. I know we're running against the end of the year stuff as well, and librarians and they are going to start pulling books back, and maybe we're too late for that. But and moving forward as well, what is it going to look like for next year? I know there are some unknowns there, but I'm just throwing that out there.
Yep, I'm putting it on the
Thank you. So next on our agenda is the Spring Leadership Institute registration. So Miss Keeley, that is, what day is that one on?
It's going to be a Thursday, May 6th, the West Ada boardroom.
1 to 4.
Yes, 1 to 4.
Okay.
Spring Leadership Institute.
Okay.
In person.
Okay, so put me down as, yes, I am attending. If anybody wants to drive with me, just bring your helmet. And I will take you there. Okay. And please let Keely know, how soon do you need to know, Keely, so that we can get registered on that?
You know, there is a cost,
Mhm.
so I would appreciate you finding out for sure and then getting back with me.
Mhm.
I don't know, actually didn't see a cutoff date, but, you know, how about before we meet again, May 26th? You let me know by then. April 26th, please,
Okay.
before the conference for the institute. So you can just text me or email me,
Okay,
let me know, check your calendars.
sounds good, thank you. Okay, and any future agenda items, our next item on our agenda, future agenda items? I do know that we do have, Chrissy, who's gonna be at our next meeting, okay, all right. just a-
And Madam Chair, just visiting with Christy, our board, I won't get with Keely, but it sounded like she would like it in an executive session
Okay. Mhm,
for the next time, but we're at Lewis and Clark Elementary.
mhm.
They are going to share the celebrated learning program with us, give us, what they're doing there, and visit the school. And then there may be a couple items to talk about, but she had mentioned that today. So I'll make sure that Keely checks with her and gets back with you. so that
Okay.
you know.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Okay, any other future agenda items that trustees would like to see? Okay, okay. All right, the next item is, we got a placeholder, but we don't have anything from the consent agenda that we put off. So we have now our policy development adoption. All right, Dr. French.
Yes, thank you. So the first, in proposed policies, those are policies that the committee is reviewing. So a first reading is where we'll start, first reading. Policy 4150, accommodating individuals with disabilities. This would replace policy 683, reasonable accommodation for persons with disabilities. And then there's policy 5265, employee responsibilities regarding student harassment, intimidation, and bullying.
Okay. So we have the first reading. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the first reading on those policies.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the first reading of policy 4150 and policy 5265.
Okay, I have a motion. I'd like to ask for a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. And any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to ask for a vote. All those in favor of the first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, the first reading passes unanimously. All right,
Thank you. So, Madam Chair and trustees, our second reading, we have policy 2710, the high school graduation requirements. That is putting into policy our specialty diplomas, which we agreed to last year. We just didn't have it in policy. And then policy 3560, electronic surveillance. And if you recall, we revised that on March 8th. But we felt because there was a significant amount of changes that we would leave it out for public input. We have not received any.
Okay.
So that you know where that's at. And then the last would be policy 7408, entering into professional service contracts.
Okay. All right, and so I'd like to ask for a motion for to approve the second and final reading of these policies.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to accept the second and final reading of policy 2710, 3560, and 7408.
Okay, I have a motion. I'd like to ask for a second.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yes, Travis.
Okay.
So yeah, so
No.
Come on, let's go.
So this has been great. Over the past year, just for the public's aware of this, we have discussed one of the policies here, 3560, for literally a year. And I have so appreciated the process and the discussion, the patience. Words matter. Punctuation much matter. And it's so
I think it's important for the public to know that, why the board takes policymaking so seriously. And I just wanted to read a couple of things before we vote on the motion that are relevant. When you look at board policy, so board policy 1205, for example, the Caldwell School District Board of Trustees shall concern itself primarily with questions of policy rather than with administrative details. And then also the board functioning within the framework of laws, court decisions, opinions of attorneys general, state departments of education, regulations, and similar mandates from state and national levels of government, recognizing the authority of the state fulfills its mission as the governing body of a political subdivision by acting as follows in this execution of its duties. So legally, we are considered a political subdivision as a board of, elected board of trustees, and our first job there, is enacting policy. And then the last piece that I would just want to mention, policy 1300, 1.1, the adoption of new policies and the revisions and the amending of existing policies shall be the sole responsibility of the Caldwell School Board District Board of Trustees. And so, we take this job seriously, and it's one of those important things that we do as a board. I appreciate the process that we've gone through. I just wanted to let the patrons and the public know that, yeah, it took a long time to work through this, but I feel okay about the policy, and I feel like we've debated it and discussed it and rehashed it, had some thorough discussions, and maybe we wouldn't have otherwise.
Thank you. And I, appreciate us as a board being respectful to one another and, letting the comments come out and also working with each other to get to where we needed to be so that we could get this policy passed and, to the way it should be. So thank you all. All right, are we ready to vote? Ready to vote? Okay, I'd like to put it to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, it passes unanimously. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All righty, so. Is it celebration time? Okay. Okay, so now we have one that I don't think I had ever read before, is the tire policy.
Yes, Madam Chair and trustees. So Shannon Cummins brought this to my attention. It's policy 624. It was adopted in 1997. And she was like, I was reading this policy and I thought I better make sure that you knew that it really wasn't matching state code. So we, she had asked that we take it to the policy committee, but then as I read it, it's very old. And so state code, IDAPA rule, which I shared with you. So the IDAPA rule, let me open that up, is 08020311. And really it's all about how we will be held accountable and the accountability measures, the state board, the testing that may require our district to participate in as statewide. We really have been following IDAPA rule. So Keely did contact ISBA and ask, is it necessary for us to even have a policy when it's an IDAPA code? And it's really detailed. So she received back from April Roy that, they could help us write a policy, but it was really they couldn't really summarize IDAPA rule because of how it's listed out. And that's our policy anyway. I am asking you to retire policy 624. We will follow Idaho code and making sure that we are participating in statewide assessment, which we do, and we'll do that as per the state board's expectation. So they do set the guidelines and they set the rules, and it changes as Jody serves on the AOC, the assessment
Accountability Oversight Committee.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that's right. It's all about assessment. And they're thinking about now changing it again. So I hate to have a policy that's going to continue to evolve. And that's why this is so out of date. And that's why Shanny brought it to my attention, because 1997, and 2021 are two very different looking years. Do you want to speak to that?
Madam Chair and trustees, the Accountability Oversight Committee is an arm of the State Board of Education, and we're charged with doing research in terms of how it applies to the Education Act at the federal level. And so I can tell you that code is going to stay current, and we have met, I don't know, probably 10 times this year, and we're already making proposed changes that will go through State Board, therefore to the legislature for final, but we're 2 and 3 years out. So the changes we're making today, code is current. The proposed changes will be 2 or 3 years out, which code will stay up with. And the way we review policies a third every year, so to speak, I just think we would get in the weeds with things we don't need to be in the weeds with.
Right. And thank you. And based on what the direction we had from ISBA, yes, you could have a policy, but really, they can't really summarize. You will take, so many kids will take ISAT, so many kids will take the Idaho Reading Indicator. We know that, and we'll follow the code. So I'm asking to retire policy 624.
Okay.
Yes. Dr. French, can you speak to the idea of IDAPA rules versus Idaho State?
Oh, sure. Thank you. Well, that's where, so the code, the legislators pass a law, and then if they turn it over to, sometimes those laws have to be better defined. So the legislators say, you will take assessments. And then the state board goes in and works up, what does that actually mean? What does an assessment actually mean? And so the IDAPA rules, and I have my little marks all over this book, sorry. So like a DACA rule, it just defines what the legislators have said they want to have happen. Does that help? I don't.
Yeah, no, I just thought it would be good for the trustees to know the difference between a rule, because we're governed, the district is governed by policies, we're governed by, in some ways, local, codes, and we're by state law, by state rules, by federal laws, and that's just another of the IDAPA rules. Is another thing that governs public schools.
Sure. So when the legislators say, students are going to attend school, the board will set the calendar. Well, then there's also, what are they going to do when they're there? So then you have to have so many credits of this, you have to have so many credits. That's not in the law, that you have to have so many credits in math. You're not going to find that here. That's been defined more to the minutia in IDAPA rules. So we want students to go to school, and when they do go to school, this is what we expect them to do. Upholding the Idaho State Constitution when it comes to uniformity and thoroughness, what that looks like across the state.
Okay. Who controls and produces and edits IDAPA rules?
I'm going to say the person that I know most is State Board for us. So, I mean, when it comes to, we have the Professional Standards Commission that works on, teacher certification. So I would say we have the State Department involved in that, but also the State Board of Education when it comes to uniformity and thoroughness. Tracy Bent is the name that comes to my mind when you have a question of, well, so what will that mean? What does literacy funding mean? Well, they work on what was the intent of that legislator, and then define it. Okay. Does that help?
A little bit, yeah.
Madam Chair, trustees, there's also potential temporary rule until that rule can go back to the legislature and be approved. I view it as the law or the statute of what we must do, and IDAPA rule or administrative rule tells us the procedures of how we're going to get it accomplished.
So like this year, we are under a temporary rule on how we're collecting student or enrollment or average daily attendance, which affects April, right? Or funding for enrollment.
So what is the acronym IDAPA stand for?
I know you're going to ask me that. Idaho Administrative Procedure.
It's a procedure act.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just say IDAPA, and I haven't got to memorize that. Administrative rules. Yeah, they're administrative rules. Procedures. Thank you.
So the legislature eventually approves all the rules. They pass a law, and then other governmental agencies produce the rules,
And then the legislature then approves those clarifications.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. So we can't talk around and say ADAPA, another darn acronym. And then you're like, well, what does that mean? I don't know. 20 years old.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
well, that's my request to the board, is to rescind that, or to retire that.
Okay.
Awesome.
Any further questions? I'd like to ask for a motion.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move to retire policy 624.
Okay, are we gonna do a bugle? Okay.
Second.
Second, okay, thank you. I have a motion and a second. All, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Okay, yay, information only. Let's see, April 28, 2021, I would like to invite everybody to go to the, is it Psi Omega chapter of the National Honor Society.
The trustees? Yes.
Yes. Because I was
Not
part of,
everybody else.
I was part of the National Honor Society to, Honor Society back in the day, induction ceremony, and this will be April 28th at 5:15 p.m. at the Caldwell High School auditorium. Masks and physical distance will be expected. And so, since it's the 100th anniversary of the National Honor Society, we will join a virtual ceremony with thousands of other chapters across the country. So that would be awesome. So we'll be streaming. That ceremony.
I think that is that's how I read her.
That's what I understood. Okay, that'd be awesome. Okay.
Well, we would be, it's a national, so it's across the nation at the time. That's why it's earlier in the day for us.
Okay. And then that's May 28th. May 6th is a Spring Leadership Institute. I'm sorry, April 28th. May 6th, 2021 is our Spring Leadership Institute with ISBA West Ada School District. Once again, please let Keely know before our next, or by our next meeting. Yes.
Madam Chairperson and trustees, I'd like to amend my letting you know, it is limited. If you would let me know by Friday, so that I can get those who really would like to attend, so we can go. I'd like to send our registration in by Friday.
Okay. So
If
let
you would
Keely
check
know.
your calendars and let me know.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. And then May 24th, 2021 is Canyon Springs High School graduation at 6 p.m. at the Caldwell High School auditorium. And then May 26th, 2021 is the Caldwell High School graduation at 2:30 p.m. at the Fort Idaho Center. So on one of these days is our, I believe one of these days will be our special session.
Oh, May 17th. Yeah, May 17th is a special meeting.
Okay, so it won't land on those days for graduation, is that correct? We're
Right,
gonna
and
move
May
it up.
17th, we were Jefferson Middle School wanted, well, we would like to host it at Jefferson. They would like to share their reading program. Some of you may have seen the news
Okay.
story,
Mhm.
but we'd host the meeting at Jefferson.
Okay, so sounds good. So May 17th.
We'll just make sure that gets on the calendar.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, that's also tax day, May 17th. All right. Okay, so I think that's it. And I would like to ask a motion to adjourn.
You want to read that? You want to read that?
which one?
Ned? You want to read
Got
that?
the opening.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've got two of these. How am I at?
Trustee
Oh,
opening.
okay. So sorry. Yes. Okay, so there, just for the audience, there is a Board of Trustee opening for Zone 1. If you're interested, applications are located on our website. We've had, it's right as you go to our website called the school district, and you can call the district office or ask to speak with Keely Cheney, our board clerk, if you have any questions. So please, the deadline is May 11th by 5 p.m. Please turn in your applications to Keely. And then we will hold a special meeting on May 17th at our special session for interviews. So please, anybody who's interested, We've had a lot of comments throughout the pandemic. I know that we have folks that want to get involved, so we ask you to apply and go through the process and be part of our board. So there's that. Okay, all right. And so now I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, no further discussion. I'd like to take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.
Madam Chair and trustees, just an FYI, those of you who have students in school probably know there's no school for. I don't know if you knew that. There's no school Friday for students or teachers. This is coming Friday.
Okay,
I forgot, it's a day.
okay.
It's in the calendar. I don't know how to see it.
No school on Friday.